It's finally here. The Rugby World Cup starts this Friday with France against New Zealand, but of course we're going to be concentrating on the game on Sunday, which is the big one between Wales and Fiji. In this video, I'm going to be picking the team as if I was in charge, and then I'm going to compare it to what maybe Gatland might do different. So let's not mess around, let's get straight into it. I'm not going to start with the forward this time. I'm going to start with the backs because it's the World Cup, and why the hell not? Let's get into it. Starting with the back three, no surprises here. I'm going to go Liam Williams, Josh Adams and Lewis Rees-Zammit. I think these three largely picked themselves, maybe Rio Dyer for Josh Adams, who hasn't been in his best form, but I don't think Dyer did enough in the warm-up games to warrant starting, so I'm going with this back three. We'll go quickly on to the centres, and I've gone for George North at 13 and Johnny Williams at 12. This is potentially one of the first places that we might see Gatland go different. I know a lot of people like Nick Tompkins, I don't, but Gatland, maybe with the experience of playing alongside George North, might go for Tompkins, but really when I think about it, the fact that he's included Johnny Williams in the squad, in the team, I think he's going to go with him over Tompkins. He just offers so much more in my opinion. Add into that Williams' physicality and just his all-round athleticism, I think it offers something that we need against Fiji, who are going to be strong, physical and very destructive, and we need someone to potentially be able to front up against Joshua Tuisova, and I just don't think Tompkins has that in his repertoire. But that's the centres. Let's look at the halfbacks, and I'm going with Dan Biggar obviously at 10, and I've actually gone for Gareth Davies at 9. Now, this is nothing against Thomas Williams. I think Thomas Williams is absolutely brilliant, and I think he has been the standout 9 over the past few seasons for Wales. But for me, I want to see Gareth Davies starting. He's back into some good form that he showed this season back with the Scarlets, and I think him and Biggar seem to have a better chemistry with each other. They seem to understand each other better. I feel like Thomas Williams and Biggar, sometimes they just don't. I don't know if it's their chemistry, but they just don't seem to go well with each other. That's just my opinion. You guys might think a bit different, but I think Gareth Davies and Biggar have played so many games together. They've been in the fire together, and they know what it takes to win, and we need that experience come this massive game. Not going to have had a lot of games together, this team that is going to start against Fiji, so I think it's important that we get some real cohesion in certain positions, and I just think with their history they both know what they offer and what they need from each other, so that's why I've gone with this. Also, Thomas Williams coming off the bench, especially when if and when the game starts opening up later on, he creates a lot more of an impact that way, and when he comes a bit more loose, then it might suit us later on in the game. But for the start, we don't want to play that type of game with Fiji, obviously. But that's the backs. Let me know in the comments if you disagree with any of those. But let's move on to the forwards and to the back row, and this is where I actually probably struggled the most. And the biggest reason with that is because of Faletau. So I've gone with Liddy at 6, Jack Morgan captain at 7, and I've actually gone for Wainwright at 8. Now, my thinking behind this is, to be honest, I've never been that much of a huge fan of Wainwright, but he has impressed me over the warm-up games. I thought that was probably some of his better performances for Wales. He's definitely bulked up a lot over the last 2 years, so I've got no problem with him playing 8, and I think he's potentially earned an opportunity to start. Having said all of that, if I'd have even seen 5 minutes out of Faletau in the warm-up games, I would be picking Faletau. Like, that would have been enough, but the fact that we haven't seen him is a slight concern. And there's so much on this game. It's not that I doubt Faletau's ability to come in and just do a job. Like, he is one of those players that I would say if he's fit, he plays. But I just think it's been so long since he's played last. I would rather him come off the bench. So, a spoiler alert, he's on my bench. But I just think it's better to start with Wainwright. He's been playing with these back rowers, and I think just let him go out there, maybe give him 60 minutes, and then bring Faletau on to make an impact with his quality. And then, the next game start Faletau, I'm happy to do that, but let's get him minutes first. And I think that this is probably what Gatland's going to do, unless he sees him in training and he thinks, no, he's ready to start. In that case, I'm happy. If that's what Gatland thinks, go with Faletau if that's where he's at. But if there's any slightest bit of doubt, keep him on the bench, give Wainwright the opportunity, and then bring Faletau on. But yeah, that was probably the position I got most stuck on when I was thinking of this team. I'd love to know what you guys think of that. It's just such a difficult decision with the length of time the Faletau has not been there for. But anyway, keep your fingers and toes crossed the Faletau is going to be fit. And let's move on to the second rows. So with the second rows, I've made a selection that I would go with, but I don't think Gatland's going to go with. And I've gone for Will Rowland, and I've actually gone for Dav James. I think Adam Beard will start, but anyone who's been watching my videos recently knows my opinions of Adam Beard and his recent play, and this is taking it for granted that Dav Jenkins is fit and ready to go because we know he picked up that knock in the first England game. But yeah, I just think this is a chance to build maybe for the future and give an opportunity to a young player on the biggest stage, and I think he would take it with both hands. He's definitely bulked up over the last year, and he's got all the ability, the athleticism to definitely start and make an impact in this team. Having said all that, I think Gatland is going to go with the safe pair of hands, air quotes, and go with Beard, but I don't know. You never know, but I would go with Dav Jenkins, even though I always have to constantly check myself because I try and say Dav James every single time. I don't know why. But anyway, enough about my ramblings. Let's finish off with the front row, and I've actually gone for Nicky Smith, Dewi Lake as co-captain with Jack Morgan, and Henry Thomas. Taking it for granted that Lake is fit, he starts no matter what for me, and he should, in my opinion, start every game in this competition, get some experience, give him an opportunity to grow as a leader and as a hooker. And as for the props, I know Gatland brought them off the bench twice, but I think both times they made an impact, and I think they justify their starting positions because realistically it was the only time when the scrum looked alright in these 3 warm-up games. So I think we should definitely go with that. We don't want to give Fiji anything, especially early on, so I think maybe the thought of bringing them off the bench to make an impact, I would just start the best players and then you can bring other players on later on, but just go with your best scrummaging players, and I think these are the 2. So I'll quickly move on to the bench, but don't forget, for more rugby content, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll just get on with it. So the front row cover will be Thomas Francis, Garth Thomas and Elliot D at hooker. Even if Elias is fit, I would just go with D. I think he's definitely deserved his spot. Finishing off the pack, we go with Adam Beard and Toby Faletau. We spoke about both these players. I think Beard can potentially offer something off the bench. Faletau definitely can, and I hope he's available and fit and we can see him play. Then the 2 backs covering will be Thomas Williams and Sam Costello. We've already spoken about Thomas Williams' impact off the bench, which I think could be important, and potentially Costello's impact off the bench too. I think he deserves to be picked over Anscombe if Anscombe is fit, but that's just my opinion. If you guys think that I've left anyone out, or you think that I'm way off, that Gatland's going to pick a completely different team or different players, let me know in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see you on the next one.